So I'm here with Patrice Brantley, who is an author, educator, licensed therapist, and a podcaster. How are you doing today, Patrice?
I'm wonderful. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Oh, of course. And like I was telling you a little bit before, I saw the article on Black News, and it was telling about how you once saw your dad point a gun at you and now because of that situation, you help other people overcome trauma. So you talk a little bit about like your childhood and like some of the trauma you witnessed.
In my childhood, I'm actually from Miami, born and raised, as I like to say, from the county of Dade. And my mother and my father were from a mid-class little neighborhood, and we were from the area of Miami Gardens. Now Miami Gardens, back in the day, it was known as Northwood or Opa-locka. And in this, trauma seemed to be the norm in my house. I thought this was normal. It went from anywhere from verbal arguments to physical abuse on a daily basis with him, arguing about other stuff that went on outside of the house, and it made its way in. On the night particular that you're speaking of, he didn't hold the gun to me. He didn't point the gun to me. He pointed the gun at her. And I remember this very clearly because at this point I was 6 years old. And the argument had gotten so bad, it spilled out into the street. My mother grabbed my sister at the time, which was in her arms, literally, and was running down the street. And I was very used to being the one that tries to calm him down or the joker of the house. And at this particular night, he gets highly upset, loads the gun, tries to shoot her. The first time it jams. And I was like, oh God, because in my mind, this is what I know. This is what's going on. It jams. And then he tries it again. And then it misfires. For me, for those who know, I am very strong in my faith. I believe in Jesus Christ. And my grandmother was the one who always fostered that in me. She was the rock that led me to the rock. And for me, that's all I knew to do was pray. And when it missed her, I was just overjoyed because I just knew that day I was going to lose my mom. I just knew. So it went from control of money, which many people don't talk about, control of money, control of what you can wear, what you cannot wear, verbal arguments, and then ultimately to physical.
That's a very, traumatic event that happened for you, especially being a child. A lot of statistics say that, children who witness domestic violence or victims of abuse themselves are a serious risk for long-term physical and mental health issues. So did you deal with any of that?
Here's what I discovered. For me, the mental health issues the traumas that I witnessed became later issues where I battled for depression for quite some time. Until I became a therapist and actually got in the field, that's when I actually realized I was dealing with my own set of PTSD. I was constantly the kid that was jumpy. What I would do if I didn't feel comfortable in a situation, I would make it my purpose to cut up so I can get out the situation. I was the kid that just either I was really extremely over happy and trying to make everybody else joke, what I call the fat girl with the jokester, or I became really angry. And that's the one thing to this day I strive for every woman that I know. I don't want us to be labeled, especially when it comes to African-American women. We're constantly being labeled as the angry Black woman. And I'm like, we're not angry. We've just dealt with a lot. So There was some things that lingered.
How did you overcome those issues?
For me, in the area of overcoming, I had to really seek. And when I mean I had to take my time. I had to admit I had actually gone through some traumas. I had to actually go and seek. When I talk about seeking, I actually sought out help. And this was once I was actually grown and out and working. I had my first major teaching job at the age of 20. And at this point, I'm out. I have insurance now. I can afford to go and talk with someone and really get to the heart of the matter. And then along with that, I went into prayer of who I should seek, because I wanted to have a therapist that aligned with my values, who understood my culture, who understood my religious beliefs, and who was willing to work with me in the process of wherever I was, because truly I was not textbook. And with a lot of therapy things, especially with me for myself, people kept saying, well, how did you deal with that? And I remember one session, I don't want to discredit this gentleman, but I went in and started telling him my story of what I had witnessed, and he broke down and started crying. And I was like, okay, this is new. But I knew I had to deal with it. And it got to the point, the first light that I knew I needed to deal with this was in middle school, when I started talking to people and I had gotten back into my old neighborhood and started saying, so tell me about your household, what's going on? And then I realized for some people, it was like real peaches and creams and, that lovely Cosby looking household. And then there was others, it was like, ooh, like you might want to come. We having some stuff together. And so I learned in that process that, help was needed.
That's dope. And you said earlier about seeking someone, who shared your faith. And like, I know, like, because I have talked with, like, a lot of my friends who are Christian as well, and they've sought therapists, but like, they talked about like the importance of like having like Christian therapists because, obviously, like, their values, like, it's important that your values align. Like, can you speak on that a little bit?
For me, I had to have a therapist that understood that I was still going to practice my beliefs and be okay with my beliefs, and they not try to take me away from my beliefs. I found a really great therapist who actually took time, and she would make that a part of my homework assignments. That's one thing I love. That I was kind of like that kid that liked the homework piece. Don't tell nobody that. But she made that a part of my growth. She was like, you know what? I want you to go and seek God on how this experience changed you. What are the things you noticed about yourself? And one of the activities that she gave me and that I actually still use in my own healing experience with people is she talked about finding those pivotal moments in your life. And I love that because she didn't try to change me. She just said, I'm going to take what you give me and we're going to make it work for you to help you heal.
That's amazing. And now you're helping other people heal. I see you're doing the Kingdom Coaching. Could you talk about that a little bit?
So with the Kingdom Coaching, this is where we get together and I actually work through where do you want to be? Where do you believe God has called you to be? And then we talk about what that dream looks like, what he has maybe shown you or maybe you've seen, or what someone has spoken to you into your life. And then we take each session, we walk through it in prayer, we walk through it, we work through steps, and step by step, I'm with you along the way.
That's beautiful, Patrice. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.